Hey, what's going on? So today we're covering something that everyone gets completely wrong, discipline. Most people think discipline is about grinding harder, wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, saying no to everything fun, white knuckling your way to success through pure suffering. But that's not how discipline actually works. The reality is that discipline isn't about willpower, it's about systems. It's about designing your environment so that the right choice becomes the easy choice. It's about understanding how your brain actually works instead of fighting against it. For the longest time, I thought discipline meant suffering. I'd set a goal, feel motivated for about 2 weeks, and crash. Then I'd blame myself for lacking willpower. But what I've grown to learn is that the truth is that willpower is a finite resource. And if you're relying on that, you've already lost. The missing piece was understanding that discipline is a skill, not a trait. And once I understood that, everything else changed. So let's dig into 6 ways to actually master self control. Not what everyone tells you to do, but the way it actually works. This is all based off my own experience. So, strategy one is redefine your identity, not your goals. Most people try to change their behavior without changing their identity. That's the big problem. You say you want to be disciplined, but you still identify as someone who lacks discipline. You still see yourself as the person who quits, the person who procrastinates, the person who can't stick to anything. And the truth is this is that identity, if you identify as an athlete, you don't have to motivate yourself to train. Training is just what athletes do, right? If you identify as a writer, you don't negotiate with yourself about whether to write. You write because that's who you are. So, for me, how I started to develop discipline to go to the gym was I had to condition myself to become an athlete. I started to identify myself as an athlete. I started to call myself as an athlete. Even though it felt a bit cringe back then, this was a couple of years ago, but once I started to really accept that identity as my own, as part of who I am, that's when going to the gym started to feel effortless. And that's what you need to do. You need to think of what you want to become and say, okay, I'm going to be that. Right now, at this point in my content creation journey, this is one of my earliest videos. So I'm trying to identify as a YouTuber or a content creator, not just someone who just makes videos, right? Because as soon as I adopt that I am a YouTuber, that's when it starts to become effortless. So again, the first step is not to set the goal, it's asking who do I need to become? Not I want to lose 20 pounds, but I'm someone who prioritizes their health. Not I want to read more, but I'm a learner. Not I want to wake up early, but I am disciplined or I'm an early riser. So the shift is where it's at. The shift is everything. Because once your identity changes, your behavior follows automatically. You're not fighting yourself anymore, you're flowing with yourself. So think about it. The person who identifies as disciplined doesn't have to convince themselves to work, right? They just do it because that's who they are. So start there, not with a goal, with the identity. Strategy two is to design the environment. This makes it easy to make the right choice. Discipline is not about resisting temptation. I need you to really internalize that. It's about removing temptation. See how it gets more easier once you do that? Think of it this way. If you were addicted to cigarettes, smoking, would you keep a pack of cigarettes with you in your room or would you remove it entirely or not buy it in the first place? So, same logic there. If you want to eat healthier, don't rely on willpower at the grocery store. Stock your fridge with healthy food and remove the junk food. That makes the easy choice the right choice. If you want to focus on deep work, don't rely on willpower to ignore your phone. You need to put your phone in another room, delete the apps, make distraction physically inconvenient. Your environment is stronger than your willpower every single time. So the person with discipline isn't more disciplined than you. They've just designed their life so that they don't have to be. Think about it. If you're trying to quit social media but your phone is on your desk, you're fighting an uphill battle. But if your phone is in another room, you've removed the friction. Now the default is focus. So, next I'm going to give you three environmental shifts that will compound. First, remove the friction from good habits. So, let's say that you're trying to go to the gym, right? You need to have your gym clothes laid out. You need to have your water bottle filled. You need to have your healthy snacks prepared. So, make the right choice, the easiest choice. Second, add friction to bad habits. Delete the apps, unsubscribe from notifications, log out of your accounts. Make the wrong choice inconvenient. This is in the example of phone addiction. Third, you need to create accountability through visibility. It helps to get someone to help you with your goal. You can track it publicly or make your progress visible because what gets measured gets managed. If you're not measuring it, it's easy to lose sight of it. So it gets stored to the back of your mind, you forget about it. And this is how we stop relying on willpower and start relying on design. Now, strategy number three is stack your identity with your environment. And this is where most people fail. They change their identity or their environment, but not both. You can't think you can't just think yourself into discipline. You can't just optimize your environment and expect it to stick. You need both to work together. Your identity says, I'm disciplined, but your environment makes discipline the path of least resistance. Now you're fighting yourself, not flowing with yourself. See where it comes in? Now, this is what separates people who change for a month from people who change for life. Typical New Year's resolution, folks. Say they want to lose weight for the next year. They start in January. Most people fall off by the second week. So if you don't want that to be you, you need to make sure you're flowing with your identity. This is what separates people who change for a month from people who change for life. Because when your identity and your environment are aligned, discipline becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to motivate yourself. You just do it. It's like the difference between someone who goes to the gym because they have to and someone who goes to the gym because they are an athlete. One is fighting themselves, the other is being themselves. So stack them. Identity first, environment second, and watch what happens. Strategy number four is to make discipline feel good. I call this temptation building. Discipline does not have to feel like punishment. Most people associate discipline with suffering, and that's a choice. You can bundle the thing you need to do with the thing you want to do. You want to exercise but hate the gym? Listen to your favorite podcast only during workouts or music. Now, the gym is associated with something you love. Want to eat healthier but crave junk food? Make healthy food taste incredible, and it can. Invest in good recipes, good ingredients, good presentation. Make an effort to find these recipes, to cook them. Make it an experience, not a chore. You want to focus but find deep work boring? Work in a coffee shop. Change your environment. Make it feel like an experience. The point is that you don't have to suffer to be disciplined. It just requires design. And most people think they have to suffer to be disciplined, but that's backwards. The most disciplined people have designed their lives so that discipline feels good. And this is what I've done with the gym. They've made the hard thing easy. They've made the boring thing interesting. They've made the painful thing pleasurable. It's not weakness, it's being smart, and that's what you need to do. Strategy number five is visibility creates accountability. You can't track what you can improve. So, most people have vague goals: be more disciplined, get healthier, work harder. But vague goals create vague results. Specific tracking creates specific results. So, track your workouts, track your meals, track your hours of deep work, track your sleep, not obsessively, just enough to see the pattern. And that can be boring, but trust me, it helps. Here's what happens when you actually start tracking. You start to become more aware, and once you're aware, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend you're disciplined when the data shows otherwise. And more importantly, tracking creates a feedback loop. You see progress, you see motivation, and motivation creates momentum, and this is what you need. This is how discipline becomes automatic because you're not relying on willpower anymore, you're relying on data, you're relying on evidence. You're relying on the fact that you can see yourself improving, and that is more powerful than any motivation speech. Strategy 6 is about the eighth wonder of the world, the compound effect. Small disciplines create exponential results. Discipline isn't about one massive effort, it's about small, consistent actions that compound. One workout does not change your body, but 100 workouts do. One day of focus does not change your career, but 365 days do. One healthy meal doesn't change your health, but 1,000 meals do. Most people quit because they expect immediate results. They want to see the transformation in a week, but discipline is a long game. The person with discipline isn't more talented than you. They're not smarter than you. They've just understood that small actions executed repeatedly creates exponential results. And they've designed their life so those small actions are automatic. If you think about it, if you improve by 1% every single day, that's 37 times improvement in a year. And it's not because you're grinding harder, but because you're compounding. That is the power of discipline. It's the marathon, not the sprint. All right, so that's it, and I hope it was helpful. Here's what you need to remember: discipline, again, is not about willpower, it's about identity, environment, and systems. Change who you are, design your surroundings, make the right choice easy. Track your progress, trust in the compound effect. Do that, and discipline stops being something you have to force. It becomes something that you are. That's it for this video. I hope you found this useful. Smash the like button, subscribe for more content on building better systems and better habits. And follow me on Instagram for daily inspirations on discipline, productivity, and personal development. I'll see you in the next one.